Hey everybody, it's Josh here. Hope you're having a great day. I just wanted to record part two of the raw files. In the first video, we looked at these different codecs and how they compared. In this video, I just want to talk a little bit about workflow and the best way to get these files in to Resolve for grading and the best way to convert them. What we learned in part one, and I'll link the video down below, but in my tests, I did not see a benefit from putting these into a timeline in Premiere and adjusting the master settings and changing the ISO. To me, that looked exactly the same as when I come after the fact and I was putting the Z Cam color plugin on and adjusting it that way. So I say all that to say that I don't think you have to take either the ProRes RAW or the ZRAW files into Premiere and adjust their master settings to get the same type of output and performance. So it's the easiest way, taking that into account, is to use Media Encoder to encode them. And before you do any of this, you need to have the Zcam plugin installed for Premiere for ZRAW. And so if you go to the Zcam website and you go to the LUT address here, it's this Mac ZRAW plugin for Premiere. So download that and install it, or it's not going to work. But once you get that installed, you should be good to go. And so what we'll do here is we're going to just open up Media Encoder, and I'm going to take this ZRAW file. I'm going to drop it in. I've already set a preset, so it's going to default to that. But let me just kind of show you what I'm doing here. I've got QuickTime selected for the ProRes, and then if we click on this right here, this is where you adjust all your settings. I had initially selected this one right here, this Apple ProRes 4444. When you select that, there's going to be a few things here that you need to change. Right now I've got it as just the, if I click this match source, that's just the resolution that I shot this clip in, and you'll see it there, it'll pop up. And what you want to do is you want to come down here, and for whatever reason these are coming in upper first. I talked to Kenson about this. I don't know why that's happening. These cameras shoot progressive, so I'm not really sure why it's reading the Zcam that way. So what you want to do is you want to decheck this, and then you want to go and click progressive. And just like that, you want to click progressive. Now this is something you could leave upper field first and do in Resolve if you're exporting to go to Resolve. It really doesn't matter. I would maybe just see which one you like best or which one you think does a better job. One important thing here is when you come in here, you have to change this depth to 16 bits per channel so that it can incorporate the 12 bits. Even though it's not 16-bit, you can't be an 8-bit or you're not going to get the full quality. So select that. Everything else should be good to go. So you can save a preset for these settings, and if you want to adjust the resolution, say you shot it in Cinema 6K and you wanted to go ahead and do a downscale to Cinema 4K, you could do it right here and save a preset for that. Depending what I'm doing, if I feel like my framing is good and I'm not going to want to reframe, a lot of times I will go to that 4K preset just because the files are a little smaller and they're a little bit easier to work with. But anyway, after you've done all those settings there and you've changed to 16-bit, you can just hit OK and hit play. It'll do its thing. It'll start rendering it, and you'll be good to go. You can do the same process with the ProRes RAW, and you just drop it in, apply the preset. It's going to do the exact same thing. You don't have to worry about doing anything with upper field because it comes in as progressive, but you can use that same preset. It automatically will give you, or you'll have to go in and say 16-bit on this one as well. But then you should be good, and those will give you ProRes 12-bit 444 files, 4444 files to work with in Resolve. So that's the easiest way to do it, but it's not the only way to do it. And so let's look at doing it through Premiere. One way you can do it is you can take these files, we'll do one of each, and you can drop it in to your project. And we're going to make a new sequence here. And I don't have any audio attached to these, but if you did, I mean, I don't have, like, these aren't an actual audio source, but what you can do here, and we've seen from the previous comparison, is that even if you adjust it with just your basic settings, you're still retaining that range on the ProRes RAW. So I wouldn't worry about having to go into the master settings and try to adjust it there. You're going to have that same amount of control in the ProRes. But say you wanted to just use Premiere to export these for some reason, you can just drop them on the timeline. You can go over to Project Manager, and then you select these clips. You can say consolidate and transcode. And so here where it says source, it's either going to be the individual clips or the sequence. The sequence is just going to give you one file, and then individual clips would be the individual files. And then since we've already created that preset, we can just use the preset that I've already made. And if you made that in Media Encoder, you're going to have to also make it in Premiere. They don't translate between the two different programs, but it's the same type of preset that we just created in Media Encoder, and everything's the same. So then you would just hit OK, and it's going to go ahead and it's going to render those out as well. One other option you can do is if you want to do an edit in Premiere and cut this up or whatever into, say, a certain thing here, you can just do a standard export like you would out of Premiere and just do ProRes. I'm sorry, change this to QuickTime, and then do the same thing here. You can do it that way. You still have to come down here and change this. It already did change this because of my preset, but then that would give you just a single file as well, which you can use like a scene cut detection or something like that in Resolve to do. I still think Media Encoder is the easiest way to do it. So let's just go ahead, and what we want to do here is just look at the Resolve side of things. I mean, it's pretty simple. You just import it into Resolve the same way you would any file. Okay, so we're here in Resolve. We're just going to make a new project just for this. We'll call it Workflow. So what we would do is, a lot of times in the color grading environment, they refer to Bacon Blade as when you take a full file, just one single render file, and then you cut it up into pieces basically that you can grade. And so I made this file earlier from some stuff that I was shooting, and it's called Cuts, and that is essentially what this is. It is a file that I edited in Premiere Pro and 4K DCI, and it's all in zraw, and then I transcoded it or rendered it out as one single file to ProRes 444. And what I did is, when I was editing this in Premiere, I put an actual black frame in between each clip, and you can kind of see, let me see if I can capture that here. See here, there's a black frame here, and then it goes to the next clip. And the reason that I did that is because I just feel like it helps the scene cut to do a little bit better of a job. If you're really comfortable with scene cut detection and you know kind of how to do it, and how to just mark everything so it's perfect, don't worry about that. But if you're not and you're kind of new to it, that's just a good way to help it to not pull random frames and combine them and all that kind of stuff. So you just like I did right there, when you're in your media pool here, you right click on it, media storage, and do the scene cut detection and hit auto scene detect, and it's going to go through this process here, and it might take a little bit. We'll just speed it up. The only problem with doing it this way, even though it's an easy way to get your clips individual, you definitely have to have a fast drive when you're working on this ProRes 4444 file, so that it gets all the information off the disk pretty quick, or your Resolve's going to bog down quite a bit, since you're working with like a larger single file, even if it's cut up into pieces. I think that it's a little bit faster sometimes to work with the pieces already, as their own individual clips that you've rendered out that way. And if you don't want to just convert, the raw clips out of the camera, you can go ahead and do that edit in Premiere, where you've done your edit in Premiere. You've got these smaller clips, and then you just go to the project manager, to export those individual clips into ProRes, so that you're good to go and you're not having to work with like the full data from all the extra stuff you don't need. Okay, so it's finished this scene cut detection. We're going to add the cuts to the media pool. I'm not going to change that right now. So what happened here basically is we have all these different cuts, and some of them are the video clips that we had, and then some of them are the black frames that we made just to help the scene cut. What you can do is, if you sort it by frames here, you can just come down here and just delete all your black frames, and then everything else here is going to be the clips all cut up and ready to go. And if you have a fast computer and a fast drive, this probably will work really well for you. But you can come in here into your edit page, and you can drag your clips in, that you've already edited, because you did the edit in Premiere. And then you can go in here and you can start doing your thing. And your Premiere or your DaVinci Resolve settings of your timeline, you can make them whatever you want. I've found that sometimes if you're editing at 1080, it's a little bit faster, and then you can just switch it back to 4K, when you go to render. But you'll see here in the metadata of this that the bit rate is showing, or bit depth is showing 12, and you're getting that full 12-bit file to work with, so that when you go to your color here, you can pretty much do anything you want with it, and you're going to have a really nice just gradation of light to dark and color. It's very nice for push and pull, and you just retain a lot of information, where the 12-bit really just starts to shine. You'll see here if I'm working with this. So one of the things people really like about 12-bit files in Resolve is they tend to be really good when you're trying to pull a key or do keying, besides just, to me, having just a really smooth pushing and pulling of data here. Let's just play around with maybe pulling that brown color in the tree, just kind of seeing how it does. We're just clicking and dragging there, and it picked up a lot more than we wanted. So let's just kind of refine it a little bit. And we always want to adjust this a little bit, adjust these values. Bring some of that back here, because we're just wanting we don't want the white, and we're just trying to grab that brown. Blur it out a little bit here, maybe add some denoise, and then we can go in here and we'll adjust just that information, to give the tree kind of a different feel, a different look. And this is just one example, but the fact is that when you're working with 12-bit, you can get really nice clean keys, and it works really well even for just adjusting like basic settings. You don't want to keep your whites kind of white, but adjust the browns, all these different things here. You have a lot of control over the image. Even if you just want to bring down the shadows of the browns, you can get a really nice key because it's in the 12-bit, and that's an area that it really shines at. So that's just one example based off the footage that I had in here. But that's kind of the idea from workflow. There's a lot of different ways to get it into Resolve, but personally my favorite, the fastest that I'm finding at this moment, is just using Media Converter to convert it straight into ProRes 4444, and then dragging them right here as the actual files into Resolve. The only time I would say maybe use Premiere is if you have a ton of files and you knew you recorded a lot of extra information that you don't want in your edit, then you can go back to Premiere and do your edit in Premiere and export it using the project manager. But hopefully that's helpful, and keep checking out these videos. I'm going to keep talking and making videos about RAW in this series called the RAW files, and hopefully it'll be helpful to me as I kind of learn new things, and also you guys as you tune into these videos. But hope you have a great day. We'll talk to you later.